We all know how a boss fight's supposed to go. You walk into their boss fight room, wail on them with all your best weapons until they fall over, and then you get a big jewel or a new hat or something. It's a perfect system. Except that sometimes bosses come along who don't play by the rules. Attacking them only causes misery for you, and if you want to be victorious, you have to go against all your gamer instincts and resort to non-violence in order to come out victorious. I know, how will we ever live with ourselves? Here are 7 bosses you can only beat by not fighting them. Please enjoy, and beware spoilers ahead for the following games.
Everything you needed. You gave me nothing. It was all me. Yet I cleared your path. I guided your axe.
If you haven't been keeping track lately, Assassin's Creed Valhalla is the one set in Viking times, with drinking games and rap battles.
To all those whom I speak, they say Eivor's a clod.
You're speaking about me, that's a little odd.
That's the one. It also features Asgard and the pantheon of Norse gods, including top dog Odin, who spends quite a lot of AC Valhalla either treating you to horrifying visions or looking moody in front of ravens.
What do you want of me?
Eventually, Odin's general dickery gets too much for even main character Eivor to take, and the two of you throw down in an honest-to-goodness boss fight against the king of the gods. Hope you saved your game.
You question the very gods.
However, worry not, bold Viking, because this fight isn't a test of your brawn, but rather of your brain. Try and fight Odin, and it quickly becomes clear that nothing you're doing is having any effect on the mighty Allfather. The same isn't true for Odin, however, and he'll make short work of you with his spear if you get too close. However, even if you take enough damage to die, you'll be pulled back onto your feet, whether you like it or not.
Eivor, stand.
So maybe you're thinking I should just run away, put some distance between me and the king of the gods.
Come back.
Yeah, that's not going to work either. Die several times and the game will hint to you that Odin has control over your axe. As such, the only way to defeat him is not to fight him at all, but rather to go into the menus and unequip your weapon, thus symbolically rejecting Odin's influence over you. Now all you need to do is run towards your companion Sigurd, and the fight is over.
Take off your axe.
Sorry Odin, you know I'd love to stay here and get my ass kicked for all eternity, but those rap battles aren't going to win themselves, you know.
Silent whispers all claim that you're terribly dense.
Then you have clearly misheard them, my wit is immense.
Oh, you looked out with that one.
Clive Rossfield from Final Fantasy XVI wasn't the first Final Fantasy protagonist with a name that sounded like it could be one of your granddad's mates. That dubious honour belongs to the protagonist of Final Fantasy IV, who rejoices in the unlikely hero name of Cecil Harvey. Probably sounds a lot cooler if you're Japanese. Anyway, Cecil begins Final Fantasy IV as a Dark Knight, but over the course of his adventure realises that if he's to complete his quest, he must turn babyface and become a paladin, which is the opposite. The process for switching jobs in this way involves travelling to a mountaintop hall of mirrors and facing a manifestation of his hatred in human form, a true Dark Knight version of Cecil, who arrives ready to throw down. And so you're pitched into a one-on-one duel against this dark version of Cecil. Hitting him does do damage, but the Dark Knight is immortal. No matter how much you hit him, he'll never die. This is when the text on screen will remind you that a true paladin would sheath their sword. A hint that the way to win this boss fight is not by fighting, but rather by defending and taking everything the Dark Knight can throw at you. Defend for several rounds and survive, and you will pass the trial. The Dark Knight will evaporate, and Cecil will take up his new mantle as a paladin. I know they say it's hard to switch careers later in life, but this is ridiculous.
Baldur's Gate 3 was one of the surprise success stories of recent years, winning every major Game of the Year award, selling millions of copies, and becoming a genuine cultural phenomenon into the bargain. But did you know it wasn't the first Baldur's Gate game?
Yeah, there's a 3 in the title.
Yeah, well, there are indeed other Baldur's Gate games, and they are indeed also worth playing, particularly if you're a fan of bosses you can beat by not fighting them. That's because that particular scenario shows up in the Temple of the Forgotten God in the lower reaches in Baldur's Gate 2. That's where you face off against a being known as the Empathic Manifestation, which sounds like the start of the title of an English literature dissertation, but is in fact a scary-looking demon with a nice line in introductory dialogue. It's nice to meet you too. As it so bluntly states, this demon feeds on hatred and suffering, so wailing on him with your usual weapons and offensive spells does nothing.
I am yours to command. Oh, here!
What you have to do instead is not fight the manifestation, but rather show it a little love and understanding. Or to put it in terms that actually translate into RPG game mechanics, you have to heal him. Yes, this monster that can take regular damage indefinitely will die almost immediately if you turn any kind of healing magic on him, turning this tough encounter into a trivially easy one. Of course, this relies on your healer actually doing some healing, and as anyone who's ever played D&D can tell you, not necessarily a sure thing.
A brawl is surely brewing. And begin!
Any opportunity to skip a boss battle in Cuphead is welcome on account of how Cuphead's bosses are harder than an adamantium-coated algebra test. And if you want one fewer bullet sponge bastard to battle in Cuphead, there's a way of skipping one of the vegetable-themed root pack by, you guessed it, not fighting them, despite that being a surefire way to end up on the game over screen in most other circumstances. The boss in question is Ollie Bulb, the second of the root pack to arrive after you beat this angry potato fellow. Ollie is a large, emotionally unstable onion who spends most of the fight attacking you with tears. That is, unless you leave him alone and don't attack him at all. Remain peaceful during this phase and Ollie will look around, realise you mean him no harm, and retreat back into the earth without the two of you ever exchanging shots. Of course, this bit of good fortune is immediately cancelled out by the arrival of the next boss, this giant carrot, along with a new wrinkle, a furious radish who wants to kill you and only shows up if you resolve things peacefully with the onion. Is Cuphead. What did you expect?
Dr. Robotnik from the Sonic games is hardly what you'd call a tactical genius. After all, he's spent the last 33 years trying to kill a single hedgehog, when according to the RSPCA, hundreds of hedgehogs die in unchecked bonfires every single year. You've got a considerably worse record than bonfires, Eggman. What gives? Part of the reason for his constant failures, of course, is that he overcomplicates things to a ludicrous degree. If you or I wanted to kill a hedgehog, we'd probably grab a shovel, head to the garden, and be done with it in about 5 minutes.
Whoa, hey now!
I'm just saying. Robotnik, however, when faced with the same problem, decides his best course of action is to build some kind of elaborate machine armed with impractical weaponry that will fall apart if hit 5 times by a hedgehog. Asking for trouble. At least most of these mechs actually require Eggman to be attacked by Sonic. Some of them, like this example from Sonic the Hedgehog 3, are so useless that they destroy themselves without any input from Sonic whatsoever. This is the Egg Inferno, sometimes known as the Hotmobile, a stunning bit of engineering that appears at the end of Act 2 of the Lava Reef Zone, and is essentially an armed submarine that can go underneath lava. It sounds impressive until you see Robotnik try and kill Sonic with it. At this point it becomes clear that the Hotmobile's entire offensive capability revolves around launching bombs up a big lava hill, where they'll roll back down towards the Hotmobile, explode, and eventually destroy it. All Sonic has to do is get out of the way. Maybe he'll get enough out of the way that he'll end up in a bonfire? We can only hope, eh, Dr. Robotnik?
Oh no. She's coming.
Oh, kept you waiting for so long. I know you want that encore ride.
I'd hesitate to call Dead Rising boss fights repetitive, even though more than one of them is against an insane clown. But they do tend to follow a certain formula. You come across someone who used to be a costumed mascot or a postman or a stage magician or whatever before the zombie outbreak, discover that they've gone mad, and then beat them to death with whatever you can find lying around while they try and sick their magical tiger on you. All fairly predictable. Apart from the tiger. One Dead Rising 2 boss who is anything but predictable, however, is BB Love, a cabaret singer who has, yes, gone mad and wired explosives to her audience of 3 of her employees that she is threatening to detonate if they leave before the show starts.
No! We're wired. If we move, they'll go off.
The twist here is this is not your traditional Dead Rising boss fight in which you would ride over BB on a ride-on lawnmower or hit her with a baseball bat, because if you try that, this happens.
You had your chance to work with the entertainer of the new millennium, but your own selfish needs destroyed my comeback! That was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, people, and you blew it.
Oh, Lord, down I go.
And I do mean that literally.
Choked up.
Instead, the only way to beat BB is by not fighting her and instead becoming her sort of personal assistant, fetching her a drink, dressing yourself smartly, and bringing in an audience of at least 15 people. Although zombies will apparently do, which is great news because those MFs are everywhere. You then get a new role as stage manager, having to run the lights and pyro for BB's stage show, because in Fortune City, no show is worth anything unless it has 400 Roman candles going off at random intervals. Succeed as stage manager, and the deluded BB, flushed with the success of the show, stage dives to her death in her zombie mosh pit, and that's her defeated, in inverted commas, and the hostages saved. Honestly, BB, it would have been a lot quicker if you just let me batter you with a baseball bat covered in nails. What? It would.
This is the heart of the darkness. It's where the creature dwells. I think this is the end of the line.
In 2007's The Darkness, you play a mob boss who inexplicably looks like he got kicked out of a screening of The Crow for being too angsty. This is Jackie Estacado, who is host to a power known as the Darkness, which gives him a host of demonic powers that he can only use in the dark. Mostly, these involve heart-eating tentacles, which, as you can imagine, are quite a boon for the head of a crime family. But surprise, turns out being host to a demonic power that eats people's hearts and is called the Darkness isn't all smiles and sunshine. And later in the game, Jackie ends up in the other world, in the hellish castle where the darkness actually resides, and it turns out it's not pleased to see him. To start this boss fight, you need to walk around the room surrendering all your darkness guns.
Nothing for you.
As well as your various darkness powers.
This is not for you.
And once you're just regular old Jackie again, the darkness will roll out, ready to rumble. Even though you still have regular weapons on you, fighting the darkness here doesn't achieve anything. Instead, you need to avoid its attacks for a few rounds until it tells you to surrender to it.
This is not your life anymore. Surrender to the darkness.
Now, normally we wouldn't advise surrendering to evil beings of pure darkness, but in this case, it's very much your only option as you put away your guns and embrace the darkness, finishing this boss fight and advancing you to the next part of the game. And I'm sure there will be no negative consequences to giving this demonic entity total control over our body. For us, I mean. Everyone else is getting their hearts eaten for sure.
Hey, thanks so much for watching this video about bosses you can only beat by not fighting them. And you should not fight the urge to click on one of these two videos because they'll take you to some fine video content up here from us outside Xbox. Or if you fancy something a bit different, but not really all that different, then check out Outside Extra down here. We've got loads more lists and videos going on over there as well. So don't fight the feeling. Click on a video and enjoy watching it. Thanks. Bye.